Hello, it's Scott from Diesel Appliances Newcastle. Welcome to Friday afternoon. I thought that I'd have a quick chat this afternoon about what I had on this week and just talk about some of the things that I see in particular with diesel heaters. So I thought I'd stop and have a beer and have a chat with you. So this week I had two diesel heaters that weren't operating. They both had a variation of the same problem. The first one was a near new diesel heater which was blowing a lot of smoke and not lighting. So it wouldn't light, it would go into its startup process and then not start, but it blew a lot of white smoke. You may have seen the video on my Facebook page. The white smoke is unburnt fuel. What it means is that there's some blockage restriction that's preventing the fuel from being ignited by the glow plug. The rectification on that is normally a full service, and that's in fact what I did. And serviced it. The issue really is what is causing that build-up of carbon normally inside the heater that prevents it from lighting. And that's almost always a restriction on the exhaust or the combustion air intake. Which brings me to the second of the diesel heaters. The second diesel heater had sat, 10-year-old heater. It had sat in a vehicle, a caravan, for probably 2 years. With COVID and lockdown, the van didn't get used, the heater sat, diesel got a bit old. It wouldn't start, and it came up with no start error, not surprisingly. So when I looked underneath, I could see that through a hole in the exhaust tube that it was blowing a lot of white smoke. So I disconnected the muffler and I had no combustion flow, and so from that I deduced that there was a blockage somewhere, and I found a blockage in the combustion air inlet, the intake pipe, and that turned out to be mud wasps. That's more common in the intake of earlier, say, models where they don't have a combustion air intake baffle. Later model heaters tend to have a baffle that goes on the combustion air intake to stop the kind of induction noise, the sucking noise, but also it helps in stopping insects making their home or the home for their offspring in that intake. The same thing happens on the exhaust, and sometimes you see, if it's on the exhaust side, you see smoke coming into the vehicle. That's rare, but that does happen on occasions. So that's how I rectified that one. Was fairly straightforward rectification. I cleared it, started up and ran it hard, and it ran pretty well. The first heater, it turns out probably wasn't a blockage, but that the heater was only ever run on a very low setting. It's a recommendation of mine that, for example, at night in cold weather, if you run the heater on a low setting, say 15 or 16 degrees, so that you're not sweating all night with it set on 30 degrees, is when you are about to turn it off, turn the heater up to a much higher temperature and run it hard for 15 or 20 minutes so that it does clear any build-up of fuel inside the unit. So there's something to look forward to. Beware of the white smoke, which is unburnt fuel, and also check your intake and exhaust for blockages in those cases, and also think about running the heater harder before you turn it off. Cheers. Have a good weekend.